got their work team together in early June 2009, and the first draft came out in September. Under less than a year, they had changed the way we educate people in America. And why does this remind me of the Affordable Care Act? In less than a year, the most successful piece of America's economy was turned on its head, revamped, and I believe those pieces will never be put back together again. Both programs were done in haste. When people looked at them immediately, people who knew what they were looking at said, this is not workable. But it doesn't matter. The window dressing, after the first draft came out, that were asked to stamp their approval on these Common Core state standards, those who refused to approve, those who were asked for input, today maintain that they were totally ignored. Well, of course they were ignored because this is a big hurry. We don't have time to rewrite and to critique and do a serious review. He's stopping me, and I have not even gotten halfway through, but I have to spend 40 seconds on Tom sounds so optimistic. I like listening to him. As I look at this problem, and I look at the money and the influence and the prestige attaching themselves to Common Core, my conclusion is that our only hope is grassroots. Our only hope is to talk to everyone, and I know people think I'm crazy because I stop them on the street and I say, do you know what Common Core is? No, they don't. Our schools have to have parents opting out of Common Core testing, and those number of parents have to exceed 5% because the schools won't care until we exceed 5%. We are only going to be able to fight Common Core with our very limited few legislators who want to get into that mess, and with grassroots opposition. So I'm sorry I exceeded my time. I knew I would, and I'm trying to keep it so short. But there's a lot to learn about Common Core standards.
This is really good, Sandra, because she did one thing that I forgot to do, and that was to tell you that the most important thing we are doing right now is the opt-out. And if you aren't familiar with it, we have more information on our table downstairs. We have a form developed by Thomas More Law Center. It is researched based on Michigan law that the rights of parents to opt out of data collection and testing. And as we're coming up on taking the leap this year, we want a lot of parents, and like Sandra said, 5% will impact the school. And so we want people to really opt out. So I took from yours that you are in agreement with my assumptions. For example, number two, I don't have those numbered right. The 2-2, parents have the ultimate authority, and number 3, the best educational curriculum has the active support of local parents and teachers. So that's excellent. Thank you very much, Sandra. Okay, Stephanie. My shirt's getting all the way up. So keep it brief. Again, 5 minutes.
You can't breathe.
All right. 5 minutes is not really enough time to talk about Common Core and education, but I will try. Melanie got it almost right. I'm actually a middle school teacher in Plymouth Canton, but I teach high school math. I teach an honors geometry class to 8th graders. So my involvement with Common Core came about when I was forced to completely rewrite my geometry curriculum because, again, 2 guys, Jason Zimba, David Coleman, and actually there might have been a third, decided that this is a really cool way that we should try to teach geometry. Completely turned it on its ear.
geometry's been around for thousands of years. It started with Euclid and Pythagoras, and it's kind of, as Pat would say, this is classic education, right? It flows, it's a beautiful class. It's my passion in geometry, in math. I love geometry. So when someone says you need to change it up in a way that doesn't make sense to you, then I get angry and I get involved. And that was really kind of the basis of my argument when I testified against the standards, is that I'm a child of the 60s and 70s. When we were growing up, the Soviet Union was this horrible, we had all the freedom, they had centralized everything. These handful of people decided everything for the entire country. And then you fast forward to Common Core. And to me, Arnie Duncan is our Lysenko. He's basically spewing falsehoods, and he's putting his vision of education onto a country with absolutely no evidence. I actually have a quote here that says, the Department of Education has become an evidence-free zone when it comes to high-stakes decisions being made on the basis of cut scores on standardized tests. So that's kind of my second point too, is the whole standardized test piece. I have no idea what is going to be on the exams that I'm going to administer to my 8th graders in April. None. Not a single one. I have standards that I have to teach to, but Tom, you were saying parents have a right to see the test questions? I think educators have a right to too. Not that I'm ever going to teach to a test, because I refuse. The day that I have to teach to a test is the day that I do not teach anymore. But it's nice to know what the wording is going to look like. You can kind of prepare the kids. I don't know how many of you have gone onto the Smarter Balance website and taken a practice test. I'm a math teacher. I love math. I could take math tests all day. That practice 8th grade math test gave me a headache after one question. And I looked and I said, here's what my 8th graders are going to do. C, because they said just mark C if you don't know. They're going to read the next question. They're going to go, C. If you've ever watched a group of 8th graders take a test, that's high stakes to me and my profession, but not to them. They have no skin in the game. They don't care about their MEP scores or their Smarter Balance scores or their breakthroughs or whatever it's going to be. They just want to be done with it, because if you finished early, then you can read your book, or you can, go on your iPod, or do whatever it is that you can do. So the fact that we have these tests coming down the pike that are going to determine how good of a teacher I am based on some kid that doesn't care about the results is frightening, and that I don't even know what those tests are going to look like. So I know I'm kind of preaching to the anti-Common Core choir, so I just actually want to take a second and preach my public schools spiel. So, and I know that school choice is a big platform of yours. From my perspective, here's how I see school choice. I see it, first of all, as resegregating. Plymouth Canton is ground zero for non-inner city charter schools in this state. I think Heritage has 6 or 7 schools in our district. So what I see is, one of them in particular is where a lot of Indian parents send their kids because they can send their kids to school with other Indian kids. And I've had parents say this to me. We lose 100 kids a year to a charter school. They're not all coming out of the same school, so we can say, hey, Smith Elementary, they need 3 fewer teachers. It's here, 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 here. So it's death by 1,000 cuts to a public school system where all of a sudden we lose 100 kids, and that's almost $1 million, but we can't pull it out of anywhere in particular. So, I feel like a strong public school system, choice within the public school system is fine, but again, to use an analogy and then I'll finish, when I go to the post office, I mail a letter, it costs me 50 cents. If I want that letter to get there tomorrow and I go to FedEx, I don't go to them and say, well, it only costs me 50 cents at the post office. If I want something that I perceive as better, generally the American way is we pay for it. So perhaps schools like yours sound great, but I feel like they should be private schools and parents should pay tuition, and that our state resources should go to public education. Thank you.
Okay, great, Stephanie. So in listening to the 3 of you, I wanted to add a new assumption, and that is that we should work together to fight high-stakes testing. I think that's excellent that we're getting a lot of agreement on that. I really appreciate it, and I also heard Stephanie say that parents and local teachers should have a really strong voice in curriculum. And I also am glad that Stephanie brought up the point about choice, because if you see on the questions, we have here the number one question: how can a robust system of school choice coexist with a robust traditional public school system? Because we cannot afford to have our public school system go by the wayside. It is constitutionally required, and I said at the beginning, we should be basing our vision on what our Michigan Constitution and the U.S. Constitution say. So we need a robust, high-quality public school system with the opportunity of choice. So that's a struggle we're going to have to work together to figure out how to do it. Okay, Tammy?
Hi everybody, I'm Tammy Carlone. I'm kind of stuck, so I'll just stay here if that's okay. I have a daughter in 11th grade at Northville High School and a son at University of Michigan. I know there's a lot of experts here, and I really didn't want to duplicate what they said as much as possible. So I thought what I would bring to you today would be things that I've seen in my experience for those of you that may not have schools in the, kids in the public schools right now. So all this stuff is stuff that I've actually seen. It's not something that, you know, is like a theory or a vague concept. And hopefully, my goal is actually that this will drive you guys to action, because we need, I think everybody probably is saying this, we need more voices. One person saying something, you know, they're kind of a freak, but if everybody's saying something, you know, change happens, and you guys know that. So I have broken this down into 3 different sections. I'll try to bang through it, because 5 minutes is, like everybody says, not enough to cover everything going on in education. What I see that needs to be in our public schools right now that we're not getting today is the freedom to learn, for the children to be respected, and for them to not be indoctrinated. We, all of us here and everybody else in the country, from my view, must demand that our students receive high-end classical education based on solid educational principles that have been learned by experts over many years. I know I'm preaching to the choir, so if I hit some points and you want to say amen, I would love it. If it's new to you and you want to talk to me after, I would love that too. My card and a bookmark is down at the stop common core table. I welcome anybody. Schools must not be allowed to treat children as lab rats to experiment on with unproven ideas. Schools must not be allowed to fulfill profit motives of billionaires like Bill Gates and corporations like Pearson. Schools must not teach to test, which takes all the wonder and enjoyment out of education. The United States has about 4% of the world's population. We've created about 96% of the world's innovation. And this has come from an education system that was in existence before what we have now. So I'm a big fan of what we had before now. Yeah. So it seems like I hear a lot that we need to be more like China. They do well on tests, you know, that type of thing. You know, this innovation doesn't come from high scores on tests. You know, it comes from being able to think outside of the box.
Come on. That's right.
Thank you.